Yeah, my name's Dan Doty. I'm one of the co-founders of Evryman. I'm a writer. I am a creative. I am a coach. I'm a lot of things. I'm a father. I'm a husband. Where I was when I began working with David was I was in a crunch. I was in a very tough spot as a founder of a startup organization that is or was and still is low on resources and high on energetic output, along with having a 4-month-old son and a pretty intense financial crunch for my family. Personal finances were very tight. I was in one of the lowest points of my life and felt completely stuck. I felt scared. I didn't know where to go. I'd been putting so much energy into my family and this business and everything. I'd just been giving, 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 giving. And it felt like things weren't coming together, and I was terrified. And I was referred to David just first of all as a potential friend by a co-colleague we each have, and we met for coffee. And I knew, even as we were just sitting down, I'm like, okay, I really wanted and need to work with David, and it seemed just this automatic, easy, and natural progression of us diving in together. I think the really the critical part of where I was when we started is that I was overextended in about more ways than I could probably count. I was overextended energetically. I was overextended with my sort of responsibilities for many other things. And I'd lost my center in a lot of ways. And it was really scary and it was confusing. And at a moment in my life where I felt like, shouldn't things be coming together? And shouldn't things be operating smoother? It just felt just murky. It felt like I was trying to run upriver, chest deep in a fast moving deep river. And I don't know if you've ever tried to do that. I have tried to do that. It's hard, but that's exactly how life felt. My strategy through that time period before I started working with David was, in a sense, it's like, okay, I already committed. I already made these choices. I just have to power through. I have to keep following leads. I have to work harder. I have to show up in even bigger ways. And I have to basically put more energy out. And that's an old, long standing pattern for me. And that's what I've done most of my life. And what happened immediately and brilliantly and like a lightning bolt as I started working with David was, first of all, the assessment process up front was like cut through so much of what was happening, and it was just a very enlightening moment. And then sitting down in our first session, in our first couple sessions, um, I was able to pierce right through that struggle. So, like, if I was struggling upriver in the current, really, what it felt like was like, wait, just stop. This is stupid. Like, this is obviously, hey, man, not working. And it was literally like, hey, why don't you just blow up this raft and get in the raft and then just sort of, let's try this other way to navigate. And it lined up very perfectly with my established meditation practice. What it really did was enabled and enacted a big part of my own truth, a big part of my own practice, and applied it to life directly. As in, I can go sit on my meditation cushion for an hour and connect with this simplicity, this clarity, and then just have that. And oh, that's nice. But what this did was like, okay, wait a minute, that here's some tools to make that level of clarity and openness consistent, sustainable, and throughout my life. And it legitimately changed everything almost overnight, in terms of making decisions, in terms of clarifying my finances, in terms of struggles my wife and I were having together. One of the biggest impacts right off the bat was that my relationship with my wife went from strong to hella strong, like crazy strong, like stronger than I could have imagined. And what really happened there is I found that without knowing it, I was kind of like overextending, and you could call it somewhat codependent. You could call it just basically leaning on each other too much. And what I found was just like I calmed down, I got clear, I got aligned, And that allowed her to have her whole space, her whole experience. And it was a revolutionary learning and practice for me to really engage with that. One of the strongest moments when I knew it was working and it was clear and there was no questions about it was the stress that my wife and I would get into a lot had to do with our struggling financial situation. And we started having one of these conversations that we've had many times. Something came up. We both got afraid. We both panicked. And I had just come off of a session and I just stuck with the alignment practice in the moment. And I could literally feel, and things were so slow and so clear, I could feel the things that were, if I touched, like these buttons floated up in the air. If I touched these buttons, we would go right down the same patterns. We would have the same emotional outbursts. We would have the same things that we've always done. But I could see that, and I chose in that moment not to go there and just to be present and just to hold space and do the thing. And it just like immediately shifted the conversation. There was a moment, and I could see it on my wife's face, and I think it's kind of like, "Hey, why aren't you doing that thing we do? What's going on here? What's different?" But it changed, and then we talked about what was different, and then we started honestly doing some of the alignment practices together, which line up with her spiritual practice as well. Really beautiful. Some of the outcomes, the main outcomes, is that decisions and stresses have become like, if there was a dial on how much they're impacting me physically and mentally and emotionally, I was at a 10 out of 10. It was like things were just crushing me. And at this point, what's different and what feels different is like the same problems are presented. Similar things are, I mean, some of the problems are going away, but decisions and stresses are dialing it down to where it's just like, okay, this is happening. This is we can make this decision. We can get through this. We can deal with things. There's this more matter of fact uh, presentation to what's happening. It's crucial. And my work, my life for the past chunk of time, I and we help men feel more. We help men open up and be sensitive and be aware of both our own process internally and other people's. And we build empathy and we build compassion. And it's beautiful work. And I do believe that there are times in life where that's not the only tool. So what I'm feeling here in a big sense is building another tool set for action, for decisions, for clarity. And it's beautiful and it complements the rest of my life and my work perfectly. A couple of the specific things that happened is that right almost after the first session, our family had an opportunity to move. And we brought that opportunity in, and through some of the tools and the tricks and the processes that I've been working with David, we really took that decision in a different way than we've made most of our decisions before. We didn't make just a passionate emotional decision. My wife and I, we're good at that. We're good at just being like, yeah, let's do this. But we really like went into that with clear minds and clear hearts, and made what has proven to be the best decision that we've ever made as a family. 6 months ago, we never would have had even a slight conception that making this choice would have been what's right for our family. And so, yeah, this working with David came at this real specific junction in my life and my family's trajectory, and also business wise. This practice has helped me be a better leader and partner at my business, in my business, and with this ability to sort of settle the dust, make clear decisions, get really clear. We've really taken a big turn and turned the corner, gotten over a big hump with our organization, and we're really on a really great track right now.